convene the meeting.
All right, you are good to go.
Good evening, members of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. Thank you for joining our monthly meeting. I would like to begin by welcoming our guest speaker this evening, Gabriel Rodriguez, who's the Executive Director of Centro de Ayuda. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Center of Help in English, and there's me talking to us this evening about the programs of the organization and then specifically the challenges that the Spanish-speaking community in Annapolis faces. To begin, I'd like to turn our attention to the minutes from our September meeting. Those were shared with you by email. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by common consent. It's been our custom when we have a guest to the commission that we flip the agenda and take up some of the commission business later and immediately turn our attention to the presentations of our guests. And so I would like to call on Gabriel Rodriguez to share with us what he would like to talk about in terms of either or the challenges faced by the Spanish-speaking community, but also the work of Centro de Ayuda. Also, welcome to the call, Commissioner Linda Mundy. So, Gabriel, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I'll try to share my screen. First, let me see if this works. Can you see my screen right now?
I can.
Yes.
You see it says Center of Help About Us?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. So again, thank you for the opportunity. I would like to know how much time do I have for this presentation?
As much as you'd like.
Okay, thank you very much. So the Center of Help was founded in 1999 as a nonprofit organization, and we are the Anne Arundel County's premier provider of support and resources for the immigrant population. Our mission is to empower, educate, and connect immigrants with resources to promote self-sufficiency and to advocate for the successful integration of the immigrant community into Anne Arundel County and the surrounding areas. So the first thing I would like to highlight is that we are not an organization only for Hispanics. We serve all immigrants. It is true that most of our clients are Hispanics because we are in a neighborhood that not only most immigrants, but most people around that area are Hispanics. That's why most of our clients are Hispanics, but we serve all immigrants, and not only in Arundel, but also surrounding areas. And our programs are divided into three categories. We have family services, educational services, and health services, which right now are more focused on the mental health. And now I would like to talk a little bit about those programs under those categories. So first we have case navigation. Our case navigators connect immigrants with systems of care and provides assistance and advice on government application processes, legal resources, health programs, translation, interpretation, notary, among others. It's basically social services type. We have also pro bono immigration legal clinics. We have a partnership with, here says Mid-Atlantic, but they now changed the name. They are Casiano Law Office. And through them, we offer free legal clinics on immigration matters. So that's one of the needs, since you're looking for understanding a little bit the needs for the Hispanic community in and around. There is a big need on legal advice especially immigration. And there is a nonprofit here. I don't know if you know about what's their name. I can give you the name later, but they have one they offer um eviction services here, advice on eviction and representation in court as well. But in PG County, they offer a wide range of services. I am trying to advocate a little bit for them to expand their services here to Anne Arundel, but they are lacking fundings, and they are trying to look for funds to expand those services here in Anne Arundel. But definitely, legal services is one of the needs in our community. We have the Strengthening Families program, which is a 14-session program for Hispanic families in Anne Arundel County that gather parents and children together to provide education on parenting, social life skills, and family gatherings and activities that help strengthen the family. Each session offers a family dinner and child care. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop me, and I can talk a little more about any of these programs. This is the Maria de la Paz Youth Outreach Center. The Maria de la Paz will be closing soon. This is a daily after-school program and safe space for immigrants, Hispanic, who are in middle school and high school. The program promotes holistic wellness, and we offer them yoga lessons, martial arts, so they learn how to control bullying, how to face bullying with control, not with violence. They take mindfulness, conflict resolution, and among all other things. However, this program has been difficult to get fundings for the program, and we took the decision to close the program. This program will be closed in October. However, we are in conversations with a school, one of the community schools in our county, to open a new program that will be more focused on psychological first aid for youth. And that program will be will probably be happening at Annapolis Middle School, and that will be basically the new youth program at the Center of Help. We have 4 educational services. The first one is Plaza Comunitaria, which is a program for Spanish speakers who have not been able to start or finish elementary or middle school. This program combines face-to-face and online sessions to adapt to the learning pace of each participant. We have a partnership with the National Institute of Adult Education, and the partnership is with the Embassy of Mexico in Washington, D.C., the consular section in Washington, D.C., and they basically provide the diplomas for the students, and they provide the curriculum as well. And there is only 2 places in the whole state of Maryland offering this program, and the Center of Help basically is the biggest have the biggest program in Plaza Comunitaria, and this is going back to the needs in the on the immigrant community. Literacy is definitely one need for us. It's very common to see that everybody has, or most people have at least high school, and many institutions focus on GED for immigrants. You need your GED, but we very often forget that there is a lot of people from Central America and South America that they need that basic literacy. They don't even have elementary and middle school, and this program targets those populations that need to be to finish first the elementary and middle school, and then we encourage them to pursue their GED. We have the citizenship classes, and this is a weekly class for legal permanent residents who wants to pursue U.S. citizenship. Participants practice reading and writing in English, learn U.S. History and civics, and perform mock interviews to prepare for the citizenship interview. On last month, we graduated 23 students from our Plaza Comunitaria and citizenship programs. We had a lovely graduation at the Birch Library in Annapolis. We had representation from the county executive office and the Embassy of Mexico, the consular section in Washington, D.C. With us, and it was a lovely event. So those two programs are basically what I call our essential programs, educational programs, because they are essential resources for the city of Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. And as the Center of Help is the only organization offering citizenship classes, not just in the city, but through the county. I just learned recently that there are now another Plaza Comunitaria in a school. However, the Embassy of Mexico told me that they don't have too many students, so I am trying to connect with them to see how we can collaborate and try to join efforts to serve better our community. So we have also what I call complementary programs. And the reason I call them complementary is because they complement our Plaza Comunitaria and citizenship programs. How ESL complements the programs? Well, many people here are permanent residents, and they don't take they don't go through the process to get citizenship because they don't speak English, and they don't feel comfortable taking an interview in English for the citizenship. So to those people, what we said, well, let's do something. Learn English first, and then you can take the citizenship class. So what makes different our ESL class to most ESL classes around the county? And I had this discussion with many people from the school system, community college, and other organizations, is that many immigrants face difficulty to express their ideas even in their native language. So when they go to take an ESL class that is supposed to be elemental level 1, even those classes very often assume certain level, and they do not have that level. So our ESL classes are designed to work with that people who need literally a 0 level of English, and we start with them at that 0 level, and from there we have 4 levels: 0 level, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And also students from the Plaza Comunitaria program can take ESL classes as a complementary class for the curriculum. Going to the next class, and the last one, we have computer literacy. This is these classes are divided by modules that cover from introductory to intermediate level. This program provides the computer skills necessary to face the new technological challenges of the 21st century. And again, what makes this class different to other computer literacy classes is the same thing. Our goal here is not to show them how to create a spreadsheet in Excel. We go there at the advanced class, but some things that for us are very common, like opening an email account. Sometimes we forget that they come from countries that even access to internet is difficult sometimes. They don't have purchasing a smartphone is not accessible the same way it's here. So we have to teach them even how to open an email account, how to turn on a computer, how to use Google to be self-sufficient when they need to answer to some questions they have, how to find those that information in Google. So they learn those things as well in the computer literacy class. And that computer literacy class is also a great support to the school system, because many parents have access to Chromebooks that are provided by the school. The school tells them you can use your child Chromebook, but they are so afraid that, no, I don't want to touch anything because I can break it or damage it. So that's a good way to teach them how to navigate the school website, to check, their standing of their children, and also, use the Chromebooks for their own personal use. Moving to the third category, which is our mental health services, we have mental health therapies. So the needs in the Hispanic community are completely different. One conversation I had with the Department of Health recently is that I believe we should not categorize Hispanic immigrants and Black or African American both together in one plate just as minorities, because they are not minorities in the same way. And there is a big distinction between them, and that distinction is U.S. citizenship. When you have U.S. citizenship, you are not in the same category as somebody who is an immigrant and do not have the same rights. They don't have the same access to systems of care. They do not have the same access to health care. So it's very different. And that's something I've been advocating for a while with the Department of Health, that we need to do some changes in our outreach strategies. And I will go to that later in my next slide to expand on this a little bit. But to fill that gap that many immigrants face with the situations that they face daily with immigration, we are providing them with mental health therapies. So this program makes available a certified bilingual clinical social worker who provides therapy for uninsured immigrants who are facing distress and need professional care. And this is at no cost, only for uninsured immigrants. If they have a health insurance, we can refer them to Arundel Lodge or any other service through their insurance. However, that's something to highlight as well. Uh,
Mhm.
there is a huge gap on Spanish-speaking mental health professionals. We don't have enough mental health professionals who speak Spanish in the state of Maryland. In Anne Arundel, I only know 3 of them. So there's probably a couple more, but I am sure there's no more than 5 of them in the whole Anne Arundel County. So it is very difficult to get these mental health services for our Spanish-speaking population. And last but not least, we have our Community Health Ambassadors Program. This program incorporates mental health first aid as a tool to build safer and more caring communities across Anne Arundel County. Health ambassadors recognize and respond to people experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis or concern and connect them with appropriate care. This is a program carried out in collaboration with the Department of Health and delivered through door-to-door community engagement, mental health awareness sessions, and participation in focused community events. This is what I was talking you about, that I've been talking with the Department of Health about the need to change a little bit the strategies, because since we target the Hispanic or the immigrant population, with them we work specifically with Hispanics. They want us to reach that Hispanic population, but we have been facing challenges because we obviously follow their system, their outreach system, and it doesn't work the same way with Hispanics. Sometimes the service, for example, some service are too complicated. Hispanics that do not have the same level of literacy, they don't understand the service. So there are some things that need to change. I'm trying to turn on a light here so you can see me. So there are things that needs to change a little bit, and we are working together with the Department of Health to see how we can collaborate to make an impact in our immigrant community. So these are our office hours and information. We are at the 1906 Forest Drive, Suite 2A. In the Suite 2B, we run our educational programs. However, we are the Center of Help is facing some financial challenges right now, and we are considering moving to a different location. We are in conversations with the county, and it's very possible that we are moving very soon to a different location provided by the county. Our phone number is 410-295-3434, and our business hours are Monday to Thursday 9 to 4, and Friday 12 to 4. And I don't know if you have any questions regarding our services.
Gabriel, I do have, I'm not sure if it's a question or if it's a comment. I'm concerned about the literacy rate as you spoke of. I would imagine that many people get taken advantage of trying to navigate having a life here. Am I correct in that assumption?
Can you expand a little more on that?
Hey, I'm thinking about, you have a family who comes here and their English they don't have any English, and the parents aren't literate. And I would imagine it's very difficult in that case to find a place to live, to find a job, the basic things that we as American citizens, we take for granted.
Yeah, definitely. So obviously when you are here, I would like to share my personal experience. And I do not do this very often. However, I believe it's appropriate for the question. I am not technically an immigrant because I am Puerto Rican. Puerto Rico is U.S. territory, so I have my citizenship. However, when I came to Maryland, I came here with no plans at all. I just came here with a one-way airplane ticket, and having citizenship made all the difference, because when you work hard, doors open to you. But I started here working in a fast food, and in Puerto Rico, I was a college professor. I taught in a college for 10 years. I am a classical guitarist by profession. I have a master's degree in classical guitar performance. So I was an artist, traveling, playing concerts, teaching in a college. And then I came here to start my life again. I started working in a fast food to get a quick income. And that was 4 years ago. So I understand how it feels to start from the bottom. We have immigrants, that you said is true, but we also have immigrants who are lawyers in their countries. And here they have to clean houses. So that gives us an idea on how bad the situation are in their countries, that they prefer to be here cleaning houses or working in the kitchen in a restaurant than being a lawyer in their own country. So definitely we made assumptions based in how things are for us, but it's definitely a completely different world for them. Sometimes it really feels like a different world.
Other questions for Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a reminder that the Human Resources Department of the City of Annapolis, we serve as the staff liaison for the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. So if anyone had a need or needed to reach out with a complaint or anything of that nature, you certainly can do that through the City of Annapolis Human Resources Office.
Thank you.
Are there other questions, comments? Yes. Yeah, Commissioner Hurley.
Not a question, but just a comment. Welcome. We don't do a very good job of welcoming. Obviously, you're already a citizen from Puerto Rico, but we need to do better. And thanks for coming.
Thank you. And another thing, and I know you know this, but the United States of America do not have an official language. Some states does, but Maryland is not one of those states. We do not have English as our legal language. So legally, we do have a responsibility to provide some services in their own language, because it's not a legal requirement here that they learn English.
Commissioner Mundy has a question or comment.
Hi, thanks a lot for your presentation. I was just wondering how our commission could perhaps support you. Do you have any ideas of how we could support you and the Center of Help?
Well, we are in a process of changing. Specifically, the financial situation for the Center of Help has been a little difficult. We are looking for more donors. So if in talking about money is always a difficult conversation, it's not comfortable. However, we cannot accomplish our mission without money. And we are trying to expand our network of donors right now. So if you know people who are passionate about making an impact in underserved communities and would like to support monetarily, at this moment, that is the best way somebody can help us.
Other comments, other questions?
So as you see, we have a lot of programs. It is not common that a small organization like us has such a wide range of programs, but keeping running all those programs costs a lot of money.
Trisha Hopkins?
Yeah, so I had a question. Thank you so much for coming. I wondered if working with the public school system, now that there's the blueprint and there's a lot more developing around community schools. And so the resources, the combined resources and outreach from schools is, I thought, intended to make sure there were wraparound services between students and their families and that connection with established schools that were designated as such and got additional funding and staff support to do so. I wondered if you had experience with that in Annapolis and if the center had established a role with the school system in that regard.
Yeah, I work very closely with the school system.
Mm-hmm.
I partnered with schools. We run programs together. Our Strengthening Families program runs at the Tyler Heights Elementary School. Our Maria de la Paz program will be closing, but we will open our new program at Annapolis Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
I very often communicate with bilingual facilitators and social workers at the schools just to be sure that we are joining efforts. They know the families are there, they know their needs, but they lack of some resources as well.
Yeah.
It's resources that we have. So we do work closely with them.
Commissioner Hurley, I see your hand up. Did you have another question that you wanted to address?
I'm sorry, taking it down. I'd already.
Okay. All right, these are all great questions. Are there other questions, other comments that commissioners would like to have? Yeah, Commissioner Mundy.
I guess I'm just wondering, you had made the comment about the official language, and since we are the Human Relations Commission of Annapolis, is there a need that you feel like the community has for Spanish-speaking residents in Annapolis that the city should be providing? I feel like that's something we influence.
Yeah, I believe that all government websites should be available in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And I said Spanish, but not only Spanish, but at least all the major representations languages we have in our city. And services as well. We have one of the services we provide at the center is just doing interpretation for our clients when they have to go to some offices and they do not have somebody speaking English. In one sense, we are doing something that is the city responsibility and the state responsibility, and we are doing that job. That's why I feel that it's fair that our organization receives some compensation from the city and the county for supporting them in that work, because we are supporting the city and the county.
Other thoughts, other questions?
It's Mr. Rodriguez. You may be aware of this, but I know that the Anne Arundel Bar Association, along with Community Legal Services and maybe another organization, is sponsoring a legal advice day on Saturday, October 14th, from 10 to 1. I guess for individuals to come explore the topics of landlord-tenant law, immigration, and family law. I did not see the Center of Help as one of the sponsors for that event, but I believe that it was at least initiated by Hispanic Heritage Month.
So my email is grodriguez@centerofhelp.org. Can you please send me some information about it?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Would you mind putting that in the chat or telling me that again so I can write it down?
Jay, I can give it to you.
Okay.
I have it and I'll handle that for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
So I don't know if at least but besides, I guess, funding for your organization or for the organization, what are you seeing as being the biggest challenge for the immigrant community?
Wow, so many. Access to housing, access to healthcare, not just affordable housing, period. Shelters. You need a social security to be at a Lighthouse. I don't understand why social services have to be in the middle between Lighthouse and the community. It just makes the process less efficient. And I am being very honest. I am so sorry if this is too honest.
Yeah.
But that's one of the challenges we face.
No, I think you've been most forthcoming, Mr. Rodriguez. This has been very, very informative. I'd like to really thank you for joining us this evening. This really, I think, enlightened the commission about the way that Centro de Ayuda is serving the Annapolis and general Anne Arundel County community as well. You're welcome to stay with us. Excuse me. The commission public is a public body, and our meetings are always open.
Okay.
So feel free to stay as long as you like.
Well, I have to run, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
I look forward to share some information with you in a future opportunity.
Okay, thank you again, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you very much.
Hey, commissioners, we're going to go back to their original agenda and take up the reports in the order in which they appear. The first is our staff liaison report. Claudia Barber, do you have something you'd like to share with us in terms of the your role as the liaison to the commission?
No new complaints since we last met. So my staff liaison report is not a report other than nothing new.
Okay, thank you, Claudia. Well, I'd just like to report that Commissioner Ida Mae Sims, Chuck Hurley, and I all have been reappointed by Mayor Buckley to the Annapolis Human Relations Commission for a 3-year term. And those appointments were confirmed by the City Council at its last meeting. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Madeline Harrell, who is the technical staff person to the commission this evening in terms of handling the Zoom technology for our meeting. So I know you're in the background there, Madeline. Thank you very much on behalf of the commission. The services are absolutely essential to our work. The next item on the agenda, which is item 6B, relates to the selection of the recipient of the commission's annual award at the 2024 Dr. Martin Luther King Breakfast. Going back to a time before even I was on the commission, and that goes back quite a number of years, the commission has always taken part in the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast and has had an award recipient. The award is called the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award, and it is presented to a resident of Anne Arundel County, not just necessarily the city, but of Anne Arundel County, who has shown through their work and their career that they share the vision and values of Dr. King. It's very, very open-ended. The way that we have generally done this in the past is simply to bring it up at a general meeting, have a conversation about it, see if there are nominees, one or more nominees, and proceed in that way. We don't have to do it that way, but that's pretty much what the commission's done in the past. The only stipulation on our taking this up is that we have to move fairly quickly on this. The chair of the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial Breakfast is Eugene Peterson, who's the chair of the County Human Relations Commission. And he has communicated to all of the past award givers that he needs that information immediately so that he can start working on the program for January. So with that as an introduction, what's the will of the commission? Are there individuals or that you would like to raise as prospective nominees for this award? It's a pretty prestigious award, actually. I mean, there's several awards given out at the breakfast, but you have every major politician in the counties who's attending it. So it's an excellent recognition for someone who's spent a lot of time and effort and work on behalf of human relations issues in our community. So I'm going to let it stay right there. I'm going to turn it back to the commission. What's the will of the commission here? What do you guys want to do this year? Chuck, I see your hand up.
Although I defer to others if they, I would like to make a nomination, but I would defer to others if they also have a nomination.
I'll put forward the nomination. The only stipulation, as I said, is that the person is a resident of the county and shares Dr. King's values. However, I would emphasize one other point too, is that past recipients are not eligible. In other words, you can't give it to someone who's already received this award at the breakfast. And I know that both the breakfast committee and the awards dinner committee has that rule. So who do you have in mind, Commissioner Hurley?
I would recommend we consider Thornell Jones, Thornell T. Jones, I guess is his full name.
I think you already had it. You already got it.
I don't, not since I've been here. Is that, Mike, are you aware of that?
Yeah, you did. I went to it and his kids came.
Yeah, I think she's
Yeah,
right.
that was That was to the dinner, I thought. The dinner was a different,
Oh, right. 'Cause
That is correct. The dinner is separate. So is
you're
it,
right, it was the
Right.
dinner. It was the dinner. Okay.
I don't, to my knowledge, he hasn't, but I defer to others. But Thornell
Well-
is a particularly well-qualified guy, and he chairs world-class grads effort to fully implement the blueprint. Chairs the education committee of the Caucus of African American Leaders. Is on County Executive Pittman's. Is it a task force? I think it's a task force addressing achievement gaps. I'm sure those are the right words. And is also very active in the human relations. Let me get mine. There we go. Very active in the Unitarian Church and a variety of other civil rights initiatives.
okay, what do others think? Do we have support for Thornell Jones as the award recipient from the Annapolis Human Relations Commission for the 2024 breakfast? No? I see Commissioner Hatch has raised his hand. Commissioner Hatch?
Yes, I would fully support that. The reason why my camera's not on is I'm ready to pull off here in a second, but I fully support that. Thornell Jones.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to name or to award its annual award to Thornell Jones for the 2024 Dr. Martin Luther King breakfast. Is there a motion?
I would so move.
Okay, all right, is there a second to the motion?
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to name Thornell Jones the recipient of the 2024 award by the Annapolis Human Relations Commission at the annual breakfast. Those in favor indicate by a show of hands. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Hurley, would you contact Mr. Jones to see if he accepts the award?
I would be delighted.
And let me or the other commissioners know what his response was to it. And so we'll certainly determine for sure whether he's been honored at the breakfast, but I believe that you and Commissioner Mundy are right. I think that it was at the dinner that he was honored, but we'll find that out right away. We'll find that out pretty soon. Okay. Okay, the next item, we're going to have several updates, all of which I think are real importance for our group. The first is related to the Reparations Committee, which is a entity of the Anne Arundel Coalition or the Anne Arundel County Caucus of African American Leaders. I know that the commissioners Monday and Hurley have been very active with it. So I'm going to call on them to give us an update as to what is happening with respect to that committee. Linda, Chuck?
Go ahead, Ron.
I can tell you. So the committee is working on developing a harms report, which means that some of the
What report
members
was that?
harms report,
Harms.
HRMS.
Harms.
Yes.
Okay.
Which means that they've been reaching out to some of the people that lived in the Old Fourth Ward to really try to understand, what harm was caused to them and their family by being moved out of that community and having the county buildings built. And then they've started reaching out to some of the Delegate Henson and a couple of the council people. But I think what's going to happen next is doing a real sit down and going through, you know, who is the committee, what do they stand for, what are their goals, and putting together a strategy and action plan, because there's already, you know, lots of questions have come up. And there needs to be, you know, we need to have messaging that we're all aligned and people understand what the answers are. And some of those answers aren't going to happen at this point, but that will probably be the next step.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mundy. Commissioner Hurley, did you have anything that you'd like to add to that?
No, I agree with Linda.
Okay, all right, our next item.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Mike,
sorry.
I gotta take off to another dinner meeting, but I'm sorry I have to leave.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, though. Okay, the next item we have here relates to the 2040 comprehensive plan. And I had sent the commissioners the text which the coordinator for the comprehensive plan had prepared and shared with all members of the city council. I obtained a copy of that, and I sent that out to everyone via email. The purpose was to give you a sense of where this thing is, what's its current status. Also, the City of Annapolis website does contain a fairly detailed breakdown of all the different organizations and other entities in the city that have received the opportunity to have a briefing with the coordinator for the planning process. And you can easily go to that website, and anything you really want to know about the comprehensive plan, you can find it at the website. So, you know, the bottom line is that they're pretty close to wrapping up their presentations and their meetings with groups. The next step is to prepare a preliminary report, which will go to the director of the Office of Planning and Zoning, and then it'll go on from there to the city council. And there may be opportunities for people to testify, excuse me, to both the council as well as to the committees of the council. So are there any questions about the 2040 comprehensive plan? Okay, right. Moving on, the status of protocols with Annapolis Police on the reporting of hate crimes and incidents. Before I get into that, I would like to ask Commissioner Mundy, did you ever receive a response from Ms. McCoy from the police department on the questions that you raised with her? Can't hear you. You're on mute. You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I got you. So I just did today, actually.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Can you share a little about what your questions were and what was said?
I had just asked, I had read a couple of issues, and I know that the caucus had done a press conference back in August where they publicly denounced a a Maryland state trooper who had sent a racist and sexually explicit photo to his staff. And so my question was, you know, what does Maryland, or what do Annapolis police, and he did it on his phone, what do Annapolis police do to monitor and make sure that police are not doing this kind of behavior? And then there was another article that was also kind of the same, where in Georges County, a police officer had reported one of his fellow officers had sent or reported his fellow officer actually had struck a teen. I'm looking at the article, struck a teen in the throat. And what ended up happening, because he reported his fellow officer, was that officer then made racist comments about him and, you know, seemed to construct a whole level of distrust for this officer because he told on him. So my questions were just, you know, how does Annapolis police navigate such things?
Right.
And she said that they do not routinely check members' emails unless it is related to a complaint or an inquiry, and that officers who wish to make complaints can do so through their supervisor or make a complaint directly to Internal Affairs for investigation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you for raising those questions with Ms. McCoy. I'm pleased that she responded to you. There's another issue here, though, that relates to the commission's work with the police. Approximately 6 years ago, the commission established a set of protocol relationships with the police that meant that if there was a hate crime or hate incident in the city, that we would receive a copy of the police report for that for that incident, so that the commission could follow up with it by contacting the individual or individuals who are affected by this and reaching out to them, you know, to get, you know, racist literature put in a bottle and thrown on your doorstep, which some of these groups have been doing. You can imagine, extraordinarily upsetting. And the commission has reached out to a lot of people in the community in this way. I think the most recent time that we did that was Commissioner Leach was responded to an act which occurred, I believe, somewhere in the Eastport area. And you know, we asked the parties if they would like our help, and then in that case they didn't. But what's important is that that we get the police reports, because if we don't get the police reports, we don't necessarily know what's happening. And the Capitol will sometimes cover these things, but sometimes they won't, or sometimes will not catch it in the Capitol. And so we've had that relationship, at least on paper, with the police for quite a number of years. But it's been my observation that we haven't gotten anything recently from the police on that. So I specifically asked Tricia and Claudia to look into that for us to see if that can be resurrected, because it's extremely important for us in terms of our ability to reach out to individuals and groups who are affected by hate crimes and incidents. So Tricia, Claudia, could you elaborate on where we stand here?
I'm like you, Mike. I was under the impression that they automatically provided you that information, that it's the code. It's an expectation. You know, we talked, I don't know at the time that she was a captain, but Captain Amy McGiz about that. And I feel like that was a few years ago.
6 years ago.
6
I went
years
back-
ago and had that.
Yeah, because I think I've shared with you and with Claudia in the past, but I know I've definitely shared it with the commission, the specific protocols, because there have
Yeah.
been people who've asked me, hey, what do those things look like? And so, my guess is that, I mean, it's always possible there hasn't been any incidents, but I know there has been. The reason that this is coming to our attention is Commissioner Mundy very correctly pointed out to me that there was an incident of hate incident that occurred in the Latino community, and it just it got my attention. It skipped my attention, and as a consequence, there was really no outreach, and I know we didn't get the police report for it.
Are we talking about the killing?
Yeah, the shooting,
Yeah.
the mass shooting. So it's more than
Yeah.
an incident. Yes, the mass shooting.
On
Yeah.
Paddington. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean-
I'm happy to, I mean, between Claudia and I, we're happy to reach out to the police department and find out
Thank you.
who's the appropriate individual to make sure they make that connection with you as the chair, Mike.
Okay.
And to continue to honor what's in the code.
Yep.
And provide you with information about any hate crimes as we've done in the past, and just to get that reestablished and get that information flow more consistent.
Thank you very much for doing that, Tricia. Okay, the fourth item we have is the proposed addition of age to the protected categories in the city's fair housing ordinance. This is a real good example of why it's good to talk about something for a while before jumping onto something, and which is what happened at our last meeting. Teresa Wellman, who is the staff member in the Department of, in the Office of Planning and Zoning, who handles fair housing issues. We work very closely with Teresa on this. And she asked me a question by email and saying, do you object to adding age as one of the protected classifications and categories in the city code? And it sounded good to me. I really couldn't respond as to why it wasn't there, but since that sounds all right, and so brought it to the commission. Yeah, people, yeah, that sounds okay. And then the individual who serves as the attorney to the commission from the Office of Law, Carrie Berger, had sent me an email message saying, oh, by the way, if you go forward with this and put this into the city code, it could have an impact on the city's ability to have housing in the community, public housing, in which elderly people get preference. There is one housing, public housing entity in the city in which that's the case. And so I said, well, that's a good point. A classic case of unexpected consequences. I didn't have to reach out to Teresa. She sent me an email because she was copied on Carrie's email to me. And Teresa said, that's a good point. Let's not necessarily go ahead with this. So that's where this stands, but it doesn't mean that we can't. The only thing is that I think that if we did go forward with it, I think there'd be a lot of opposition that could potentially come out. Remember this too. Commission has no authority to change the city code. That change would have to be made by the city council. And so if we decide to go ahead with this, then I think we would need to have a talking session with members of the city council and talking with the representatives from the mayor's staff. I would not want to bring something to the council and have it rejected by the council. The commission has agreed to support over the years quite a number of additions to the protected categories in the city code, including some things that aren't in most codes in terms of protected classifications. But I think the reason age was not added was for the very reason that Carrie Berger has raised with me. So with that as background, what do people want to do with this? Any thoughts about this? What are the views? We haven't taken any action so far. All we've done is exchanged emails and ideas. But there was support for it at our last commission meeting, but this is before we got this advisory opinion from the Office of Law. Which
Has there been any, I guess, communication that someone has been, I guess, discriminated against due to age in housing or otherwise? Have we received any complaints or things that would draw, I guess, a need or a concern to look more into this?
None.
And I guess just to follow up from that, is that just I don't know who Teresa, the person that you identified who brought this to us, was it just a reviewing of the code and seeing that age was not included and wanting to know the reason why?
Well, it was clearly based on review she was making of the code and or our brochures. And her comment was not asking us to look into why, but her initial comment was, can we do this? Can we put this into the city code? Which she has now backed away from.
Okay.
Well, there doesn't seem to be much energy or support outside of this commission for doing that. Not that I'm bitter or anything.
Well, I'm not even sure where the commission stands on it now. I mean, initially I was very much supportive of it, but now I'm more cautious about it because I'm concerned about the kind of reaction we would get from the elected leadership of the city. I mean, if the commission said, let's do something about this, I'd say I'll have to contact all the members of city council and the mayor. And they don't necessarily show their hands right away. They might say, oh, that sounds interesting. And if there's a hue and cry, especially from the senior citizens of the community, then they'll be very fast to take a position. But that doesn't mean that we have to drop it. I think the commission was on the fence on this issue.
So what, are we afraid of the ramifications of doing this?
I don't understand the ramification as you explained it. So you're saying
Yeah.
that senior citizens would be favored for affordable housing, for public housing, or not favored? I didn't understand.
No, well, there is one public housing unit. There is one public housing entity in the city
Yes.
that gives preference to elderly individuals.
Right.
And the issue that was raised by Carrie Berger, and unfortunately she cannot be here this evening because she had a conflicting meeting with the Public Safety Committee. But her point to me in her email message was, it's the thought of the Office of Law that if this were enacted, that the city might not be able to establish priorities for specific age groups in its public housing in the city. And they specifically mentioned the one unit then in which there is priority given to senior citizens.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
So that's the issue. That's the issue. The issue is what would the ramifications be? Yes, Tricia?
I have her email, so that might help a little bit. She
Whose
said
email?
the Federal Fair Housing Act, age is not listed as a protected factor. Rather, the FHA prohibits discrimination based on race or color, religion, sex, national origin, familial status, and disability. Keeping age out of the list of protected factors allows for facilities to be designated as housing for older persons. These are FHA definitions, i.e. individuals over the age of 55, such as Morris Blum. The city
That's
code generally
the unit I'm
always
thinking of.
remained in line with its federal counterparts. And that is likely the reason why age isn't included in our fair housing ordinance.
However, at the same time, and she correctly designated what the categories were that are contained in the federal fair housing legislation. But there are some things that are in the Annapolis legislation that is not in the federal. I can think just right off the top of my head. I'm not sure about. I know for certain that immigration status is in the city code. Citizenship is in the city code. I don't think either one of those things are in the federal code. The sexual orientation, whether a
Gender
person,
identity, yeah.
yes, sexual identity, all of those. I'm not sure they're not in the federal, but they're in the city code. And many of those that are in the city code, many are in the state code, as well as now in the county code. The county now has a fair housing ordinance. So it doesn't, I wouldn't rule something out simply because it's not in the federal code. The
Well,
federal
and
code.
Perhaps you can explore the
Excuse me.
possibility of carving out those exceptions where federal housing is intended to serve ages 55 and older. And actually those
Mhm.
buildings are not just for ages 55 and over, they're also for individuals with qualified disabilities.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's a little more involved than that, but I'm just thinking that this conversation wouldn't necessarily end, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking like I'm a commissioner, and I should
Now
just,
go ahead.
but what you might consider exploring is a carve out to comply with the FHA with regard to housing for older persons. But that otherwise, it may be of interest or of concern that you deal with age-related discrimination in fair housing in non-designated locations, because you don't want a landlord to say, I'm not going to allow children to be in this home, or otherwise set designations based on age that may be inappropriate and should not be supported or allowed.
Well, discrimination
Simply
based on
just because you
familial
don't have
status is
age
also
identity.
illegal. Discrimination based on familial status also is outlawed in the city code.
Yeah.
So
Well, and I'm just saying explore it, because maybe
Yeah.
it's otherwise, maybe that's why it's there.
okay.
You
Let me
know,
see-
the familial component of it. But again, appropriately, we don't want to get in a situation where the funding from the FHA to support housing in the city would be withdrawn because we're not in alignment with their expectations. So it's fair to say that Carrie's advice is a good start on that, but you might just want to explore it a little further in terms of where that doesn't apply, and if you should otherwise have that as a component of fair housing.
Okay, let me do this. Let me go back to Carrie
Mhm.
and raise specifically the points that have been made. Could there be a carve out for an entity like like Morris Blum?
Morris Blum, yes.
That's right. Could there be a carve out for that as an exception to a addition of age to the city's fair housing code? And I can ask her that, and I will copy Teresa on this one.
Okay.
Teresa is very important because she is the paid staff who deals with fair housing issues, and she and I have worked very closely. And it could very well be that she may say, I don't want to fool with them. And in that case, for us to really bring something up, pretty much have to hear something from other city staff or from members of city council. I mean, we added to the fair housing ordinance, immigration status, citizenship status. Both of those were added because Alderman Mark Rodriguez at that time strongly supported the addition of those items and came to the commission at one of our meetings and said, I'm going to introduce this and I hope you guys will support it. And we did. I mean, that's what you want to look for. Where are the elected officials going? Where are the key staff in the city going? And so I think it's an excellent suggestion that you made, Tricia. With the commission's support, I will go back to our attorney, and I would mention that Terry does serve as our attorney, and ask that question, and I'll bring Teresa into the conversation, and we'll see where we go. Because it's very possible that we could add this if we're able to get a carve out for Morris Blum. I would not want to take on Morris Blum.
No, but it just may be that what Carrie's advice is to align all of our housing, which is federally subsidized,
Yeah,
around the FHA's regulations, but I don't know for sure.
yeah. I mean, we go far beyond the Fair Housing Act of 1968 and its amendments. There are many, many things that we have added that are applicable within the city of Annapolis and also within the state that deal with this. Another one which comes up very, very frequently for us, in which there's a lot of misunderstanding, is housing vouchers. Section 8 housing vouchers. In the city of Annapolis, it is illegal to refuse to accept a housing voucher. The landlord can't do it. Federal level, nope. The state of Maryland, the last time I heard, I think it had possibly passed the state. I know it's in the I believe it's in the county's ordinance as well. But you'll find a lot of things that that are in local jurisdictions such as ours that were never included in the Fair Housing Act of 68 or its subsequent amendments and the like. So I'll proceed in that way. We'll have a report back to the commission as to what I learned on that. Are there any other questions or comments on this? Okay, the last item we have on the agenda is the commission dinner at the Lighthouse Bistro. I'd like to ask Rosemary and Linda to report on this for us. They both coordinated this. So ladies, this one comes over to you.
I haven't heard from most of the commissioners if you are interested or not interested. I haven't heard yay or nay or go pound sand, Rosemary. So I would like to know if the commissioners are interested, and if so, for Thursday night, October 19th, I believe we agreed upon either 5:30 or 6 o'clock. And
I think both dates were mentioned. It's at 5:30 or 6. So
or 6.
I think 5:30 was better. I know somebody said that they had to leave early. So in my mind, it was, so let's just get there at 5:30 so that person could be there just for a little bit.
That was Chuck.
Okay.
And then Chuck, I got another.
It wasn't, it was somebody else, I thought.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was somebody else too.
Yeah, it wasn't Chuck, yeah.
But Chuck couldn't make it.
Then I didn't get that email. I only knew of Chuck who said he couldn't do it on the 19th. A second email from him that he couldn't do it on the 19th at all.
Okay.
So far the yays are Mike, Tricia, Linda, and me.
Also, Jay, I think, said yes.
Did you say yes, Jay?
I did.
I didn't get that email either.
And I just sent an email directly to you and Linda. I didn't reply all, so
Oh.
may have missed the.
Claudia,
missed
Claudia,
the memo.
yes, yeah.
And it was
Claudia, that's
Catherine,
right,
it was
Claudia.
Catherine who couldn't be there, but only for a short period.
Okay, it was Catherine. Okay.
Okay, so we have
And I have to, and again, I'm driving. I would have to look at my schedule again. I know I had it in front of me, just to make sure that I can be there, but it's towards the evening. I should be able to make it.
So is it correct that we have 7 yays?
I don't hear any dissents.
Yeah, I'd counted. I'd
Yeah.
counted more. So I'll double,
Okay,
I can double check and look and see.
I mean, it
That's
sounds like you've
fine.
got a critical mass, and you might want to send off one as we get closer to the 19th, a few days before, send out another email to people, say reminding them of it.
okay,
And there may be some folks who can't, whose schedules, just may open for that.
okay.
I won't be. I'm not able to come,
Okay.
Rosemary.
Okay. And Ina May is a.
I may probably not because she would be coming with me, but
Okay.
I'll make sure.
Well, Linda, you and I can talk about the reservation offline,
Okay.
and then we'll report back to everyone.
Well,
And
you definitely
Tricia,
have a
Did-
good group.
1 second, Mike. Trisha, I think that we forgot to put you on the original invite and
Yeah, I
I don't,
eventually got it.
okay, good.
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah.
I can't remember if I then sent it to
Yeah,
you.
I got the apology and the invitation.
Okay. I'm fine.
And she graciously accepted the apology. I was at fault.
Sorry.
Not a problem.
Joshua, you had said that it worked for you at September 14th. So we'll see if it still does, but I'm going to put you as a yes unless you tell us no.
You said September 14th?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's,
I knew you told us on September 14th that it worked for you.
Okay. Okay. If I said yes, then we're good to go.
I mean, it was 2 weeks ago. You might have something booked since, but we'll
I
stick.
try not to book anything after 4:30.
All right.
And I
Had a
guess,
beat.
and I guess that it's obvious, but we will be picking up our own checks. Like we did.
Okay.
No, that wasn't obvious. Thank you for letting me know.
Okay, well, again, thanks to Rosemary and to Linda for organizing this. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there anything else that anyone wishes to? Yes, Linda.
I guess I just, I kind of would like to have a little discussion after that Center of Help presentation. Because I heard him asking for some things that I think that maybe we could help advocate for if indeed, we feel like it's important. I heard him asking for interpretation services from the city. And if the city can't provide, I know that the city has at least one liaison. I know that they have one with the police department, and I know they have one with the community services department. It sounds like he was asking for interpretation services or some kind of partnership where maybe they get some funding. I don't know if the city, I know that in the past, the city has given funding to the Center of Help, so I don't know what the status is of that. And then the other part where he was asking that there be more information put in Spanish. So for instance, the website be in Spanish. I was looking as we were talking and saw that there is a section in Spanish about Hispanic Latino Month, but that seems like that's all that is there. And then the third thing I looked at while we were here on this call was the comprehensive plan. And I just did a search in that comprehensive plan on Hispanic Latino, and it was mentioned like, I think 7 times. It's a 400-page report, and that is the largest and fastest growing population in our city. And so, or it's not the largest, but it's the fastest growing population in
Gotta
our.
be. Yeah.
So I just really I'm hearing help from him, and I just feel like we shouldn't just let it stop there at a presentation, that we maybe should do some more learning about this and see if there are some real needs that we should be paying attention to as HR commission.
Well, I always give a follow-up note to any of the people that speak to the commission. I just make it a point of doing it. And I could add to that little message I'm going to send to Mr. Rodriguez. I can say, it came to our attention that you raised these specific 3 things that that require some follow-up. And would you like to have the commission support and help? And if so, in what way?
Well,
Each
I'm-
exec-
Can I offer some information?
Go ahead.
I can offer some information about what's going on in the city already.
Okay.
We have an
Okay.
Office of Community Services.
Okay,
We had a Hispanic liaison. The Hispanic liaison that was part of the mayor's staff moved over to head up the Office of Community Services. Bilingual, she brought in a great amount of focus on needs within the Hispanic community as well. There are individuals, she's attracted grants. There's grants supporting some outreach, particularly in the health area, for members of the Hispanic community. She very recently got attracted away by the state. So she no longer works for the city. This happened just a few weeks ago. And they're in the process of attempting to fill her position now, but we continue to have Spanish-speaking providers in the Office of Community Services to help interface with the community and to address their need, to resource the needs that they bring to the Office of Community Services. I don't know intimately what they do with regard to what relationship or working resourcing with the Center for Help, the Centro de Ayuda. But I do know that we have done that and do that kind of outreach already as a city. The with regard to the website used to have a way to change the language that the website itself appeared in. A little out of step
It
with
still
once-
does.
It still does, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are many languages that you could change it to based on a choice, a drop-down choice that's on the website itself.
And it's at the bottom of the right-hand side, all the way at the bottom where you can change, it does it from Google Translate.
Yes. Now, I don't know if a lot of people know that trick well enough. Maybe it's a matter of giving it a little bigger status.
yeah, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for it. I still don't see it, but I trust that it's there. But yeah, it might be better to have it maybe up top so you don't have to scroll all the way down, at least for the Spanish speaking, since we do know that that is a large population in our city, right?
Yeah.
So on the website, does it say, click here for other languages? Or does it say something like, iniciar en español? I mean,
Select
At
language. I
the
found
bottom
it.
right-hand corner, if you scroll all the way down, it has a link that says Google Translate, and it has about 100 languages: Azerbaijan, Armenian, all of Spanish is on there, but of course is in alphabetical order. But no, it doesn't have anything specifically other than in English. It says Google Translate. So I guess if you don't know what Google Translate is, then you may not be able to navigate it in that way.
So, and to
Well, if you-
Rosemary's point earlier about literacy in general, I have a daughter who's a 3rd grade teacher, and so she has a lot of students are new to this country that come here and are different levels in terms of their own literacy, but they end up being the ones more literate than their parents are able to be, because in their own country, but they're escaping poverty, they don't have that level of education and even written skills in their own language, let alone be able to have information translated to them for understanding. The school system has essentially a Google Translate in their, I think it's called Classroom Dojo or something like that, where the teachers communicate with students and they can choose what language to translate it into so they can communicate with the parents about their children. That only works if they're literate enough to even read in their own language. And so
Right.
and what's happening with the community schools under the Blueprint for Education, by setting up community schools, it's intended to extend the resourcing, not just to the students, but to their families. And so some of the schools that are designated as community schools are building their community relationships and the resources to the community. So similar around literacy, that they're able to provide literacy services to the parents as well. But so many times resourceful immigrants end up relying on others who are a little ahead of them in providing that level of support, even within the classroom. I can't tell you how many children my daughters talked about pair themselves up with the new student that doesn't know how to speak English and just automatically serves as their buddy, to help build their build their world up a bit. So
The kids often interpret for their parents because once they're in pre-K, they're speaking English. I also have a daughter who's a teacher too, but I remember this with the health department. The parents would be coming in for shots and couldn't talk, speak at all, but they'd bring their kids with them, and
yeah,
that's
often.
what we did.
Yeah.
Things don't change. When my family came here after World War II, my grandmother, who didn't read or write in English or Ukrainian, and I was 7, and I would go with her to the grocery stores to do that translating and help her get what she needed. So when I hear about the Spanish speaking community and the challenges and what they do, I can relate personally, having gone through it. My mother cleaned houses until she learned English, just like other immigrants do.
Yep.
Regardless of background.
And the
Regardless.
majority of them are illiterate in their own language. So
Yes.
these things online don't help them.
Well, it could help some people. So I guess I'm just going back to again.
Oh, I'm sure that's important.
The ask that we received from him was, could the website be in Spanish? And I think we've just determined here tonight that it is kind of hard to see that. So is there a way for us to follow up with whoever manages the website in the city to see, is there a way to update that to make it so it's more obvious or more accessible? Because that was an ask that I don't think is that big of a deal to fix.
Well, and that's something that Claudia or I could do.
Okay.
With the staff support.
Yeah. That Mike, then that way, when you do a follow-up email, you can say, we're going to look at that, and we're like already doing something for him, which then gives him a little bit of faith and trust in what we're doing. So that we're addressing something.
Yeah.
But it is concerning to me that this whole comprehensive plan of 400 pages doesn't seem to have anything in there about extending any services to this community that is growing, or anything about housing or anything. What I've noticed in Annapolis is that there doesn't seem to be a lot of outspoken leaders, I think, that are at the tables where these decisions are being made. There's nobody here from the Hispanic or Latino community, for instance. There's nobody on the city council and most of the other commissions. So,
Unless someone is born here and they're, let's say, Venezuelan American, they're going to have a distrust of anything that's government.
Yeah, yeah.
So there has to be a better bridge built, because someone who is especially not of the community, they're not going to pay any attention to. They're going to be afraid.
Under the radar. Yeah.
Yeah.
so I just think when we do get an ask and we do get somebody who asks for something, it's important for us to try and listen and address it.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll capture this in our minutes, but I'm also in responding to Mr. Rodriguez. I'm going to specifically mention what we've discussed about the city website. And we'll mention some of the other things too that Linda has raised and say these are things that we may be able to help you with.
You know what you could also ask? If he knows of anyone in the city of Annapolis who is bilingual and might want to represent the community on the Human Relations Commission.
That would be that's an excellent point. We currently don't have anyone on the commission who is from the Latino community, and we haven't for the most part of our existence, including in recent times. It's very hard, I think, in that population to get volunteers to serve. But I'm going to mention that to him as well, Rosemary. I'll put that in there too, that we're actively looking for someone from the Latino community who would be interested in serving as a commissioner, one or more people.
Yeah, and it would be good if it would be great if someone from the center actually, I don't know, posted on Suerte Annapolis.
Yeah.
Because he or she would be speaking from the community. I tried it. I'm a gringa, even though I did it in Spanish, but you really need to have the face of the community doing it.
Yeah.
The other issue that he talked about was the issue of the lighthouse is not able to serve people unless they have a social security number. And he made it sound like social services, I don't know if that was city or county, get in the middle of that, and he wasn't sure why. So I just thought that was something too that we could follow up on and try to understand what's going on there.
Social
Tricia, do you know anything
services
about that?
is a state agency, Linda.
Okay.
And
Think
then
it was the
they have
state?
locations in counties, so it's not under the county government umbrella or control, so it's a state agency.
And do you know about that? If they,
I don't know about that, and I don't know
Weird.
whether it's the referral piece of that that's the
Right.
problem. Like when people go to social services to try to get services,
right,
whether they will not send them to the lighthouse because they also know that they don't have a social security card. I don't know exactly what he was talking about. Mike, you might want to ask for clarification about that, but I'm not sure what we could do for them in that regard. That might be, maybe Jay, maybe you have some ideas around that from the legal services day that's coming on the 14th. Maybe people that are part of that organizing would know more about that from a legal standpoint.
They might. I did at least email him that information, but I can I guess double back and try and figure that out.
Yeah. Because it seems to me that when you're trying to get somebody established, that part of establishing them in terms of, because you can't get a driver's license or even a local ID without very specific information for the real ID, and a social security card is one of them. And so it's quite possible that's already part of the construct of establishing a person's identity and what lengths they go through to help somebody get their social security card and get established.
Well, I know some areas have actually put together IDs for people who are not citizens that will give them access to some local services.
Yeah.
I know they do that in Virginia and maybe Montgomery County too. I know
Mhm.
Montgomery County's ahead of us on a lot of this stuff
Yeah.
because they've had an immigrant, a very diverse immigrant population for much longer,
Mhm.
and they're bigger, I think. But
I think it's their proximity to DC probably that
yeah, and that too.
put them in that boat.
But yeah, that is, I know I've heard that discussed before in local organizing, that idea. Jay,
Mike, are you
who are your
there?
partners? Sorry. Jay, who are your partners for the fair? I thought that was interesting that Center of Health is not, didn't
Yeah,
know
no,
about it.
I mean, and it's not my, per se, but the Anne Arundel Bar Association, along with Community Legal Services and another group. I'm part of the Anne Arundel Bar Association, or at least, receive the communications of the bar. And they are seeking attorneys or volunteer attorneys to Spanish speakers, as well as non-Spanish speakers, to volunteer for Legal Advice Day, which is on a Saturday in October 14th, at Annapolis Middle School, for specialty areas regarding landlord-tenant law, family law, and immigration. So I assume I've received the flyer for it. I sent that information to Mr. Rodriguez, but the Community Legal Services of Prince George's County is a I guess another sponsor of that day, and at least on the flyers it was in I guess honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. But also happy to send it around if anyone else is interested in seeing that information.
Jay, if you could send it to me,
Oh, absolutely.
appreciate it.
Well, does that conclude our business tonight?
This was a good meeting.
Well, we'll stay in touch, and when I respond back to Mr. Rodriguez, I'm going to pick up a number of things that we talked about here right at the end of the meeting in terms of outreach to him, and hopefully that'll be of assistance to him. I'm sure it will. Well, I'd like to thank you, Rosemary, for actually being responsible for inviting Mr. Rodriguez to come to speak to us tonight, and keeping us abreast of the needs of the Latino community. As Linda correctly pointed out, the Latino community here is a very, very large one. In the last census, it was over 17%. And I think that will grow even more dramatically over years to come. So I think it's definitely a constituency that the city needs to pay attention to, and I think they're trying. Okay, I'd like to wish everyone a very good evening, and definitely looking forward to the get-together dinner that we have coming up.